Hello, my friends, and welcome to the show. I'm Robert Wallace. This is a place where we ask, am I choosing the way of Jesus, or am I choosing my own way? We're looking at this whole idea that there is growth to all in. Yesterday, we looked topically at the promises fulfilled in Abraham's life by God, and I encourage you to look at Genesis chapter 12 through chapter 22. And so after Isaac is born, you'd almost think that, I've arrived. You know, Abraham's going, man, the son of promise is here and everything is good. And then in Genesis chapter 22, verse 2, we read, then God said, take your son, your only son, whom you love, Isaac, and go to the region of Moriah. Sacrifice him there as a burnt offering on a mountain I will show you. Now, Abraham has been on a long journey from Abram, right? And yet this request, in today's vernacular, we might say what? You want me to, I'm sorry, I don't think I heard you correctly. The truth is, Abraham knew that Isaac was the child of promise for him and Sarah. But he's raised him, you know, he watched him go through, he scraped his knees, all these good things. When we think of Isaac and we hear him say, the boy and I in the passage will return, and those things, we think of a child, or at least maybe a teenager. And reality at this point, Isaac is probably, 20 to 30 years old, maybe older. So this is not a child. This is a grown man. And so if we put ourselves in Abraham's shoes, he has watched this child of promise grow into a young man who is coming into his own. And here's the thing, this request of God, we would think is diabolical. I mean, are you kidding me? You promised it through him. Nations would be blessed. I've been reading a book called Going All In by Mark Batterson. And in his book, he writes this: God never intended for Abraham to sacrifice his son. It was only a test. In fact, God would not have allowed the slaying of Isaac. He simply wanted to test Abraham to seek if he was willing to obey the most counterintuitive command imaginable, end quote. And I agree. And so then we go back to Genesis 22, verse 1. It literally says, sometime later, God tested Abraham's faith. This was an all-in moment for Abraham. A time to make a decision. Is he fully trusting God, or is he so in love with Isaac and the promise that he is no longer in love with God? Okay, so there's the test. God gives him the command. We read that very early the next morning, they got up, they saddled the donkey, they chopped the wood, he grabbed 2 servants, and off they went. Let's just imagine that 3-day journey. Let's imagine Abraham sitting on the truth of their purpose, and that it includes Isaac. Yes, he's declared, we're going to go worship God. And then when they get to the foot of the mountain, after God shows it to him, Abraham makes this statement of faith. He said to his servants, stay here with the donkey while I and the boy go over there. We will worship, and then we will come back to you. So Abraham has wrestled with these things. They've talked about everything in the world but the actual sacrifice that is going to take place. There could be a ton of reasons for that, but let's just be honest. He's struggling with this, and yet when he gets to the foot of the mountain, he knows 2 things are true. He and Isaac are going to go up, and they're going to worship God on the mountain, and they will come back together. Now, whether he believed God would resurrect Isaac, which, he did symbolically by sparing him when he provided the ram in the thicket for the sacrifice. We don't know. But this is without a doubt Abraham's all or nothing moment. There would be more testing in his life. There would certainly be testing in Isaac's life. There are tests in our life where God calls us to make a choice in the moment. Are we all in? So my question today is this: whether God has ever asked us something as diabolical as to sacrifice our child or not isn't the question, but God has and will and is asking us to give him something that we love. Are we all in for God? Well, what's the Holy Spirit saying to you right now for today? Are you going to choose the way of Jesus, leading to a full life, or are you going to choose your own way? I'm praying for us as we carefully consider this. Let's invite the Holy Spirit to give us eyes to see and ears to hear God's truth from his word. Let's have receptive hearts and minds to receive these truths, and then let's ask the Father for the same boldness, commitment, and courage of Jesus to go all in and do what the Holy Spirit leads us to do right now, today. I pray you'll have a wonderful day, my friends. Go in the peace of God. Blessings to you. Bye for now.